today's studio guest is Deirdre Giblin. Deirdre, you're the site lead for Datavant, which is a healthcare platform that you're going to tell me a little bit more about, I hope. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, Anne. It's great to be here.
Good. So Datavant would have been established in the US back in 2017, so a relatively young company, but quite established, but very new to our shores here in Ireland. And you are quite recently in role as the site lead here in Datavant. Tell me a little bit about, for those who don't know, tell me a little bit about Datavant, the organisation, and then tell me about the plans for Ireland and I think you're moving into offices or have. Tell me all.
We have so much plans. Thank you so much, Anne. The company's vision is that every healthcare decision is powered by the right data at the right time for the right patient outcome, of course. Datavant makes all healthcare data secure, accessible and actionable. Okay, sounds pretty straightforward, Anne.
It never is.
It never is. I think if you look at the healthcare data across the US, and you can imagine actually there are like huge global companies in both, healthcare, in pharma, payers and providers, and they are generating enormous volumes of data across the US. And I guess the challenge is a lot of that data is fragmented, it's disconnected, it's generated in silos, and it's unstructured data actually. So very hard to use that data actually really to generate some good insights. And that's where Datavant comes in. So Datavant, we have a platform that enables us to connect that data. It enables us to orchestrate that data and to securely route that data, with compliance on every step of the way, and make that data available, upstream or northbound to companies that want to use that data. And typically companies will use that data, such as maybe hospitals or research institutes or life sciences. It allows them to spend more time focusing on patient outcome and maybe less time on retrieving manual data, because that's where Datavant comes in to help. Our platform also, it makes the data concise, accurate and complete, so that, as we say, it allows the healthcare professionals do what they do best, which is look after our healthcare, and we take care of the data side for them.
It's such a huge issue, isn't it? I mean, worldwide, that thing
exactly.
of good, clean data when it comes to healthcare. And tell us a little bit about the Irish operation and your own new role. Yeah,
so I mean, it's so exciting. And so on March 31st this year, Datavant launched their first global R&D office in Galway in Ireland. And it turns out it was actually my very first day working for Datavant, so hugely exciting day. We had a really great launch back then. We had our CEO, Kyle Arbrister, and we had the head of the IDA, Michael Lohan, and we had Minister Burke all join us in Galway with a big team from the IDA and a big team from the ecosystem around Galway, all joined us actually for launching our R&D centre in Galway. So the idea behind building an R&D centre in Galway is that we will build out a centre of excellence in product development with end-to-end responsibility, looking after complex healthcare problems based out of Galway. So it was a really exciting day, and I think it was an enormous successful launch actually for Datavant. So we have really successfully driven our recruitment campaign from then, and I'm really happy to say we're up on 30 people, which is a real establishment since the 31st of March, and we're continuing to grow and recruit out of the Galway ecosystem. And the Galway ecosystem, I mean, it's a powerful ecosystem. We have like over 47 companies in Galway, many in the medtech sector, many in the healthcare sector, many in other general IT sectors. So it's a really rich, talent pool actually that we're working within. And I think there's a great culture in Galway. There's a great culture of innovation and drive, and the people in Galway are fantastic actually. So we are really progressing, things are going really well for us actually and getting up and running. So we're super excited about that. And our aim, I guess, is to grow. Right now it's to grow to 125 people over the next year and a half, actually, that we will hopefully get to that number. And I'm really confident, actually, that we'll make it. We've made a really, really good start on that.
Fantastic. Yeah. And you're a Galway native
I am
yourself originally.
yeah. So it's super exciting for me. I've never worked in Galway, even though I did go to university there. I went to university in Galway. I studied electronic engineering. So my initial degree is in electronic engineering. It's something I've always really been proud of, actually, to be an engineer. And still today, when people ask me what I do, I always say I'm an engineer.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. And you started to answer my next question is, tell us a little bit about the journey to here.
So as I said, I started in the University of Galway and I studied electronic engineering. I actually met my husband there. We were in the same class in Galway, and we finished in Galway, and we travelled, we left Galway, and I've never worked in Galway since, actually. So this has been a fantastic opportunity to come back and work in Galway. From there, I started actually as a graduate engineer in Ericsson's, based in Athlone. I started as a developer, worked as a tester. I moved into an area called system test, and this was really one of the big things for me, because at system test we were testing very large telco systems, and the idea was we were actually trying to break them. We were trying to find where are the limits and where are the breaking points. But one thing that really influenced me is that in working there was that I could see the whole system as a full large system that was developed by hundreds of engineers all brought together, and you got the full big picture. And from there, that really inspired me in terms of I really loved having that big picture, and it was it really inspired me to kind of move into management and leadership. So I went into leadership. I did lots of different roles there, be it project management, program management, line management. Spent many years developing my skills in the management area. And then I think around maybe kind of mid 2005, 2006, the whole agile transformation kind of started. And I was developing my leadership skills, and I was reading a lot about agile at the time and agile transformations. And a couple of, the principles and practices really resonated with me. I was developing the skills as a leader, but reading about, how to make your team accountable, how to empower your team, how to really work with a high-performing team, how to trust, honesty, openness, transparency, all of these words. And developing my leadership skills, they all really resonated with me. So I became very interested really then in how to really kind of engage in the agile practices. I studied Scrum quite deeply, and I loved Scrum, actually. There were so many parts of Scrum that were actually so obvious and so simple, but actually really brought out the best in teams, making sure that everybody was involved, being fully inclusive, your daily stand-ups, your retrospectives, everything really kind of resonated with me there. So I worked a lot with those practices, and actually I became almost a change agent in Ericsson's actually for those practices. And I remember representing Ireland and representing Ericsson actually at some large agile conferences, but really inspired me actually to drive change and to become that kind of more senior leader, let's say, in the organization. So through that, I guess I built a network, got to know more people, and I landed another kind of big change in my career, which was head of operations of the R&D centre in Ireland. Now, that was a big role, it was a big role. I see operations as really the heartbeat of any organisation. I know you would have, obviously, the CEO, but the operations is really taking care of everything, basically all the strategies that need to be done, all of the finances, all of the processes, everything that actually makes the company, run smoothly. So that was a fantastic experience, yeah. and I think I built up quite a lot of kind of my more strategic skills during that time as head of operations in Ireland. And then I kind of was thinking, I'd look back and I had spent a long time in R&D at this point, actually, and I had learned so much, and I had really developed an awful lot of skills. And I was, really happy with what I was doing. But I decided actually to take a role outside of R&D. So I said, let's get out and see what else is in the world, what other, things can I learn, and how can I kind of, further, I suppose, develop as a person, as a leader. And I guess part of it for me was maybe getting that outside-in view, actually. So what does R&D look like from the outside? So I went to work in service delivery. And this was a hugely challenging role because this was really sitting with the customers. So we were taking the products, very different. We were taking the products that were developed by the R&D teams, and we were actually installing them and working with them and customizing them very, very close to the customer. And you get a very, very different picture. You're wondering, well, why did R&D do this? Or, I found that there was, to be honest, I think service delivery what I did afterwards was really connect them back to R&D, because it was just more getting those channels of communication open between both organizations, so you can create that understanding and getting that feedback, so that you're working in one organization, we can work much closer together. But a really challenging time, but great experience actually, and you build a lot of resilience when you're sitting there in front of customers and you're being asked difficult questions. So you build the skills, but you also you build the network, you build the friendships, and you build the trust, of course, with them, which is a hugely important part of any leadership role. But from there, then I did 2 years in service delivery, and loved the experience, loved the learning, and I moved then into a role which was head of, we called it X as a service. That was like everything as a service for Ericsson. So that was full end-to-end responsibility, from like strategy to sales to product development into operations, and we were running the networks. We were running the networks on behalf of the customers, so it was full steam, 24/7 operations running, running products and services on behalf of our customers. Super role, great learnings from it, fantastic. Challenging environment to be in terms of actually software as a service was really, again, kind of only new at the time, really only kind of getting things set up. I mean, in the telco world, it still hasn't really taken over the on-prem just yet. I totally believe in actually software as a service. So it was a fantastic learning curve for me, and worked with a great team there. And then another opportunity, really interesting opportunity, came up for me. And as I'm an engineer at heart, where I said at the beginning, I took the opportunity to go back into a very technical role. And the technical role was driving cloud-native transformation across Ericsson development organization. So I went right back, and this was like learning about all of the different cloud technologies, learning about cloud architecture, learning about how to kind of build out an architecture blueprint for Ericsson cloud development. And
very technical.
Yeah, very technical, really technical role. No, I had a fantastic team. I was surrounded by the best architects actually, and we worked in that, and that was fantastic for me. I just loved getting back into the technical detail, and it was a great foundation for me. Technology is constantly changing, and you're constantly learning, but it was a real opportunity for me to upskill on my technical side. So I did that for a couple of years, really enjoyed that. And that took me to almost the end of my Ericsson career, which was I worked in an area called software production systems. So this was where I had end-to-end responsibility for the entire development environment for Ericsson. Responsibility for all of the different tools, services, from software creation all the way through to CI/CD, through to software integrity and security, building the product, releasing the product, and deploying to customers. So full responsibility, end-to-end chain. So responsibility for work that 10,000 developers did on a daily basis, and basically I had responsibility across 8 sites actually for that work. So really enjoyed it. I spent my first year putting out a lot of fires. I spent my second year, actually, this was one of my really proud moments in Ericsson. We didn't get one escalation of any critical problem in year 2. So it was really a proud moment for me, actually, because, these are development environments. You need developers to come in every day. Everything needs to be working 100% for them. And but it was great. It was, again, a real big learning curve for me. So I really enjoyed that. And then just before Christmas this year, as I said at the beginning, I am a Galway native. I've spent a long time in my career working in different roles, taking in a lot of learning over that time, developing my skills as a leader, developing my technical skills. An opportunity came up to, with Datavant to start up an R&D centre in Galway. So once I heard about the opportunity, I was like, okay, this is it.
Perfect.
Perfect timing. I'm going to go for it. And I did. And here I am today, actually. And I'm really proud to be setting up Datavant's first R&D centre based in Galway. So really excited to take, looking back on that kind of long career that I just explained, taking, the best practices and the best learnings from that, and being able to, build something really, truly special in my hometown. It's a little bit like a dream job, if I'm honest, Anne. So
isn't that fantastic? Yeah. Wow. And you touched on a lot of leadership practice there, but if you were to, there's so much you can say about leadership, but if you were to put it fairly simply, in your view, what do the best leaders look like?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something that I often think about, actually. Look, I think leadership, like a lot of things in life, it's about balance, actually, right? It's really about balancing your time and balancing your approach. And balancing your approach depending on the context of what you're leading or what you're doing, or even who you're leading, or even who you're talking to. So it's not a one-size-fits-all, for sure, definitely not. I think you need to learn to adapt, and I think you need to learn to balance. Throughout my career, I think there's always been 3 pillars for me when it came to leadership, and really have stuck with this, and it's stood the test of time. And I think the first pillar is the business and the customer. And the most important skill when it comes to your business or your customer is to listen. Listen. Really listen and understand what that customer needs or what your customer needs. That's number one. It's listening. And then with that, of course, you can build a compelling vision. You can strategize around how you're going to kind of, drive that vision. And, that comes with relentless execution and follow-up and all of those other things. But the most important thing when it comes to our customers is to listen. Really, really important skill. Number 2, I think, people are the most important asset of any company is the people. And again, I'm going to say most important skill is to listen. Listen to your people. Really listen. Understand what motivates them. Understand what makes them tick. Like, really, what do people need? I've run lots of organizations, big and small, and I love the word to nurture. I think nurture and grow is something that, really think about what that means when it comes to your organization and your people. People need that, actually. And listen to what motivates them. Listen to what empowers them, because if you can really empower an organization, right, and if you build a culture where everybody can come to work every day and reach their full potential, you won't have to worry about the results and the delivering on the vision. That will really take care of itself if you really create and put energy into building out an organization. So again, it's about listening. Really listen to different things will make different people tick. Things with motivation comes in many different forms. So listen and learn and adapt your style, actually. And look, for me as a leader, I've always measured myself by, can my organization reach its full potential, and what does that really look like, and how do I make that happen? And that is all through the people. So again, listen. It's a really important skill. And the third area then that I really kind of is a guiding principle for me when it comes to leadership is about technology. I think these 3 things go hand in hand anyway, the business, the people, and the technology. But I think as a leader, continuous learning is so important. It's not even it's like an absolute necessity. Like, you cannot sit still when it comes to leadership and understanding technology. And I think, really thinking about the technology evolutions that happen, how you will upskill, how you'll keep your organization upskilled. And I think it's hugely important, that you invest in your people. And I talked about nurture and growth. And growth can come in many different ways. It can be personal growth, but it also can be professional growth, and it can be technical growth. And I think that technology and technical growth is so important. So as a leader, for me, I'm always kind of mindful of, how do we ensure that we have the best people and that they have the best skills, possible, so that we can solve the problem. And it goes back to that business again. It's if you can really work with your people, empower your people, and skill your people with the right technology and use the right technology, again, back to that customer and that vision and that strategy, that will, it'll almost deliver itself, really. Yeah. So 3 things of equal importance. I'm not going to call any of them out, but customer, listen, people, listen, and technology, learn. And that would be my advice. Yeah,
it's good. I'm going to hold on to that one. I really like that. Tell me about IDA, or our partners on the series. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the relationship with IDA.
Yeah, IDA are they're a phenomenal organisation. If I take it from a Datavant perspective first, if you think of Datavant, it's an American company. And they could have set up anywhere in the world, really. They were looking to set up their first global R&D centre, and they choose Ireland. And you might say, well, why did they choose Ireland, or how did they choose Ireland? The IDA are a key factor in that decision. The IDA are out there promoting Ireland as a really good place to do business, promoting the technical talent that we have, the opportunities that we have. So I think that was the first thing, actually. Literally, the IDA were a huge part of actually anchoring Datavant in Galway. And then in terms of trying to get something off the ground, so we're not the startup essentially, of course, because we have the mothership organisation in the US, but we are starting up in Ireland and starting up in Galway. And the IDA have been a fantastic support on that journey. I mean, I talk to lots of my colleagues, on a regular basis there. They're constantly there, whether it's, in an advisory capacity or it's in a strategizing capacity. They're there for support all along the way. And then I also know from my time in Ericsson, when you're a large-scale operational company, they are just there in the background with support all of the time. So no matter what phase that you are in as a company, I think the IDA have so much support available to you. And, I talked a little bit about, my career, and I did a lot of traveling during that time, onto different sites and stuff like that. And I very often got asked the question, what is the secret ingredient about Ireland? Like, what is the secret ingredient? Like, how come Ireland have all of this technology? And, when I thought about it, because I had to think of an answer when I got asked so many times, it was about, really, it's about the industry, but it's about the education system, and it's about the government. And I think when I think about the government, it's really the IDA. And for me, they're almost that secret sauce, connecting all of this together, like building, the profile, and actually working together to bring all of those three, entities together and create something really, truly magic, actually. So, I mean, I think they do a fantastic job.
Amazing. And I suppose finally, because time is flying by on us, I would love to get a sense of how you see the future. So sort of future trends that you see affecting your sector now, and then maybe the future for Datavant in Ireland.
Yeah, so let me start maybe with the technology of the future. So, I mean, I think AI is here, and we all know it, right? So now for me, I think of AI as almost like this extension or extreme automation. Mm-hmm. Now it's more powerful than that, of course, because it can learn and adapt, with the modules. So I think, but AI comes for me in two areas. I think when you think of AI as a company and as a software company, especially, you got to think about within your product portfolio, where can you add AI? Where can you really benefit from that technology? Where can you really get the kind of, okay, you want to automate a workflow, which is fine, but can you automate that workflow and then improve it every time that you run that workflow? And that's really where you got to think about where AI can kind of help. And of course, with data and somewhere like Datavant, there is so much opportunity through our workflows actually for us to use AI within our portfolio. I think that's one part. I think the second part then for me is within your developers and your development community. Yeah. So, I've worked with a couple of different tools at this stage, Tab9, Codium, Cursor, and of course then all the hypercloud providers, they all have like a lot of different tool sets when it comes to AI. And I think from a developer's perspective, it's super tool to be able to have and use it as a crutch, use it as help. It can help you, produce better quality code. It can help with the speed of delivery, and it can really help from a developer's perspective, actually. And again, help developers learning. I mean, I think you can learn so much from AI. Now, I think with AI on both of those that I spoke about, whether it's in your product portfolio or it's within your development environment, you can't take the human out of the loop. I'm convinced of that. And there are downsides, and you need to be aware of the downsides. I mean, and again, we work in data, so like you have to be so careful about the data you feed into these models, because if there's not good data in, you're not going to get the right output. So you've got to be aware of the downfalls as well. So I think, loads to come. I think there's so much more that we will learn about AI as we all continue on this journey. And I think we need to, be very mindful of, the positive sides of it and also the negative sides of it. Mm-hmm. Which leads me to the next, really, which is about, it's maybe not so much in technology, but it is definitely underpinned by a number of different technologies, which is around developer experience. Mm-hmm. I think, we cloud transformation was a big technology maybe over the last 10 years, and it was fantastic in terms of scale and resilience of our products. But I think developer, it probably brought a more complex landscape from a developer's perspective. There are so many tools out there, and there's so many tool sets that you can use. And it can be overwhelming and daunting for a developer to really understand, what tool do I need to use and how do I download this? And I think as leaders, we need to consider, how do you really remove that whole cognitive overload from your developers so that you can allow them to spend more time developing and doing what they do best. So I think developer experience, maybe you call it a trend rather than technology, but it is underpinned by some great technologies that are available in the market. And I think as a company as well, it's important for your developers to see that you're investing in them and their experience. So it's also a big retention area. I mean, developers would want to work in companies that have the best tools, the best developer experience. So I think it's something that companies need to be aware of and invest in that area. I also think, just purely thinking of Datavant, security and compliance are huge, absolutely huge. When you're handling, personal information and personal data, you need to make sure everything you do has the highest level of security. So I think, it has been around for a while. People have talked a lot about security in lots of different contexts, but it's becoming more and more and more important. And the technology is moving fast, and you need to stay up with the technology in that area and also with the compliance side. I mean, we have a lot of regulation, definitely a lot of regulation here in Europe, so we need to always be mindful of what's happening on that side as well and keep up with the trends and using technology to, of course, keep up with the trends. And then maybe finally, I think big data, of course, working in a healthcare data company that is handling large volumes of data. I think, I hear that like over 50% of the world data is generated by healthcare today. And there's only a small percentage of that, single digits, that are really used to create better patient outcome. And when I think about that, I think like the upside there is absolutely huge. There's so much more that we can do. And I think that whole area around, handling data and being able to kind of slice and dice data and create insights from data, and data, like really bringing the value into data is a huge area. And I think like it's definitely one, I think that's going to get a lot more focus and attention and technology improvements in the coming years.
I love it. Listen, thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us, and the very best of luck with, in the coming months and getting it all up and running and new offices and everything.
It's so exciting, yeah.
Best
Thank
of luck.
you so much, Anne, and thanks for having me.